I've been putting off pressing record for the better part of 3 years. Three years. And there are many reasons. Some of them are excuses, many parts, many fears that I could list to say, here's why it took me so long. But even in considering that, I realize that it's a false sense of urgency, this desire to produce, this need to be right, this feeling that I must be ready to be right before I can show up for myself or for an audience. I've been a little hesitant and gun shy and moving at a pace that feels and has felt unnatural to my nervous system, to my being, and to my spirit. And because of that, I take that information as data and wisdom that it was not time. The calmness that I feel now, being present, breathing, recording, sitting at my desk with my eyes closed, connected to spirit and self and channeling, taking my time, lets me know that perhaps now I am ready. Ready for what? Ready to share what I have been unlearning, what I have learned, what has been revealed to me by spirit through the persistent work that I have done to heal from the things that I once thought certain were going to kill me. Situations that I didn't believe that I would survive, that caused great pain and great trouble to my spirit, to my physical body, to my mental health, to my employment, to my relationships. The way that life was lifing for me. And what I learned as I went through proverbial hell, I wasn't ready to share before now. And I'm not even sure what it is that I am ready to share today, but I am present and curious. I am calm and connected to spirit in such a way that I am trusting both myself, my guides, the divine, my Ori, my ancestors, to tell me precisely what to do next. To continue to put one foot in front of the other. The answer for me has not been, well, let me say this. I put a lot of pressure on having and knowing the right answer. That came from a childhood of being perceived as smart or being called smart, being challenged for my intelligence and having to moderate my knowing or wisdom in ways that would keep me safe and that would make other people, usually adults or folks in positions of authority, feel comfortable with me. Things that folks would say, they remarked on the depth of my voice from a young child, that I had a very deep voice as a baby. They say that baby been here before. I don't know that I believe that my voice is particularly deep now, but I kind of always had a complex around it. What my voice sounded like seemed to bring folks to remark on that often. So a bit of an insecurity developed. I turned that into a performative parlor trick, so to speak, because I understood that I could get people to listen to me. And I could play with the inflection and intonation, the tone, the pitch, the pace of my voice in ways that would allow me to be seen and heard on stages. So I had a relatively successful career as a performance poet and artist, speech and debate and forensics and, lead singer, the choir director, in my granddaddy's church, headlining funk and soul bands with a big voice, emceeing events, facilitating trainings and workshops, using this voice to allow myself to become visible, to be seen and heard. And it's interesting because I have for a long time shied away from this particular field of podcasting because I was trapped in a cycle of comparison. I created competition so that I could have some metric to determine my success as a podcaster, and was more focused on the outcome or the impact than the intention of what is the podcast going to be about? What you going to talk about, girl? I couldn't really wrap my mind around it. And when I did decide that I wanted to talk about my personal transformation and growth journey and why I believe so strongly that coaching as a behavioral science and personal and professional development modality is essential for Black women. It's an essential tool in our toolkits, one that has been there from the beginning because we have aunties and guides and mothers and teachers and spirit guides. We have lost that access to that technology inside the current societal construct of, capitalism and the workforce, and coaches that are not athletic are not readily made available to Black women because of the ways that Black women are situated inside the workforce with our pay inequity or the pay disparity that Black women experience inside the workforce. We are often relegated to positions that are not in the C-suite or executive status of position, therefore not offered coaching for professional and personal development reasons. If we are put into positions of authority and power and leadership roles, we tend to be limited and tokenized in those roles in such ways that we very rarely have the time, capacity, interest, or access to coaches who understand the nuance and complexities of being us, of being Black women in executive leadership roles and positions that are carrying the weight of many worlds and many folks' realities on our shoulders, while also managing our homes and taking care of ourselves and functioning inside of an inherently anti-Black, racist, capitalist, patriarchal society that is also, the birthplace of misogynoir. So that's what I wanted the podcast to be about. How do I reach Black women to say, hey, sis, they have a toolkit that helps you navigate this impossible system that they've created and structured. There are tools and resources that are available to you so that you can find yourself and be well in your journey, so that you can thrive, so that you do not suffer from death by survival, or live in a life where every day feels like it ends like an Avengers movie, or where you are constantly, cheating your extermination or termination from spaces, your erasure from conversations, your navigation of hypervisibility or invisibility, dependent upon who holds power in your field or your place of business. I want Black women to know that there is help, that there is support. I want Black women to know, especially, that healing is possible, that magic is real, and that love is the answer. I feel as though it is my purpose and my mission this time on this planet to spread that word. And for a long time in my journey, I was wrapped up in knots about how to go about doing that, because I was functioning inside of the capitalist system that was telling me that I needed to function inside of the white gaze in order to monetize my services and survive, in order to pay my bills as an entrepreneur, in order to validate myself as a consultant, to assess or to earn my worth. That's what I would need to do in order to earn my worth. I needed to work harder and to shoot to becoming a 6-figure boss babe, girly, entrepreneur, maven, and to tell people what to do and how to fix their lives. And y'all, the contradiction, the way that set in my spirit was dysregulating. It was cognitive dissonance, because I'm like, well, how do we fix what's not broken? And what if the gag is that the lie is that there is something wrong with us that must be corrected in order for us to live lives unencumbered, in order for us to be free, in order for us to get free and access freedom. And for us to love ourselves, we must fix something in order to earn self-care, in order to earn our rest, in order to be better, become more, get into a better school, raise your rates, drive a different car, have a bigger booty, get a longer bust down, do more, consume more, buy more, sell more of yourself in order to be worthy of joy, of rest, of our breath, of a regulated and nourished nervous system, of a salary that is commensurate to our skill set, of safety in our bodies and for our children in order for access to reproductive health care, which includes food and water, education, due process. So I got stuck in a trick bag of like listening to the boss girls, the boss babes, tell me how to scale a business. And it was difficult because I tried it all. I took all the workshops. I read the books. I listened to the podcasts. I did the things, and it was utterly unfulfilling because when it was time to make the offer or create the pitch, I was so consumed by the technicalities and the strategies and the launch plans and the scaling schedules and, the spreadsheets and the ideal client avatars that I wasn't actually connected to the sacredness of the work of meeting other Black folks, women and femmes where they are in their journey, and simply sitting and being with, to shine a light, to witness, to guide, to support, to ask questions that are intended to empower and to be of service. It was really difficult to try to do those things at the same time. And so I kept searching. I went to seminars and workshops. I invested more money in learning more. I was so concerned with being right and saying and doing the right thing and maintaining one of my core values of integrity so that I could be in integrity. And along my journey, I attended a workshop by the go-to mindset coach of the NBA. Shout out to Devin Bandison. I was gifted a seat at one of Devin's trainings, and, Devin talked about the importance of giving away your gift and not to be selfish with the work. And I realized that I had created so many systems and spreadsheets and admin hamster wheels for folks to jump through to justify increasing my rate to get to a place that was profitable, or not even profitable, but to get to a place where I could pay my bills in exchange for coaching full time and consulting full time. So I built all these systems that required so much maintenance and money. And that was draining me, but I was using that to justify why the rates kept going up and doing all that. And I was coaching less and less and less. So I was creating barriers for my ideal dear sistren to access me, and hiding my gifts behind not only a paywall, but hiding my gifts behind all these hoops for folks to jump through. So this is where I was blocking my own blessings and getting in the way of myself. And also a way that I was protecting myself because I was scared. Because I was scared of fumbling somebody's transformation or breakthrough. Because I was in ego in thinking that I had any control over that in the first place. Because I hadn't quite yet put down this idea that people need fixing. So I was holding myself to this extremely high standard of a success rate and putting systems in place that would ensure the validation of my existence. You got to have a website. You got to have QuickBooks. You got to have a bank account. You have to set up your LLC. You have to do, and I mean, granted, there are things that are, absolutely necessary in order for us to establish businesses. There's a lot of red tape and certainly administrative responsibilities, but I'm just saying that I was letting that get in the way of me actually showing up for myself and for people who I wanted to serve as a coach. I got distracted by the hustle. I got distracted by the call for capitalist windfalls and six figures being the new standard of minimum wage for someone who dare call themselves an entrepreneur. It didn't fit, and it felt gross, and I didn't like it. So I stopped. Here's the thing about me as a Libra. You will learn if you keep listening. I will stop. I will quit. I will walk out. I will leave. It usually takes me a very long time. I have a very long fuse, big bang. So that's a thing. But it took me a while. It took me a long time to get over some things that I needed to heal in order to facilitate the type of healing that I want to be involved with, in order to witness the type of healing that that spirit sees fit for me to be present to, And I'm grateful that I feel like right now is the time for that. And so here I am. Now, if you are, well, first of all, of course, you're new here because I'm new here too. I have not done this before. I will say that 22 minutes in, it feels great. And the things that I was afraid of are not that scary after all. I feel in my body some excitement in my gut about the possibility of recording my thoughts in a way that I can offer them as service to the community, to create a free and creative offering that allows me to make genuine and authentic connections with people who I might not otherwise be able to engage with. This I see as an opportunity for me to be out from under the foot of Instagram. I have been a guest on many podcasts before. Shout out to everyone who's ever asked me when I'm going to start my own. Then I started a podcast in collaboration with a dear friend of mine called What Would It Look Like? That also didn't quite feel as authentic and real and me as I needed, but it helped me get one step closer to this. And so for all of those parts and versions of me, to them, I am deeply, deeply grateful. And now we've arrived here at this place. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about how today Spirit told me would be the day that I would press play. I participated in a 5-week training called Deepening Spirit Through Parts Work that was facilitated by a mentor and the co-founder of the organization where I work, Coaching for Healing, Justice, and Liberation, Sarah Jawade. And I have to tell you, over these 5 weeks of this training, out of all the trainings, all the courses that I've downloaded and attended, and workshops I've signed up for, and master classes, this one hit different because it invited me to explore the depths of my own interiority, my own cave of parts and pieces and stories and things that go bump in the night, for me to do a level of soul retrieval that felt filled with agency and love and compassion and support. And I have to tell you, it was transformative, to say the least, deeply healing. And to some extent, I'm still reeling from the impact of that. Now, we're going to get to, the brass tacks of like, what is coaching? What are my thoughts and feelings about the life coaching industry? Why do I feel as though it's important for Black women in particular, or why it's important for me specifically to speak directly to other Black women who are in new and emergent leadership roles about their personal development as it relates to our connection to our emotions, our body, our spiritual selves, as well as the narrative of who we are, and how by making those reconnections and re-engaging in those spaces, we can access liberation and live lives that are aligned with thriving, and to move away from this forced survivalist, escapist, devastation that this imperialist settler colonial society has set us up to experience. But how I got here is that at the end of the 5 sessions of this deepening the spirit through parts work, the question was, what is my biggest learning? And in today's meditation, in the cave of my own awareness, I witnessed all of these parts of myself. The me of today, my higher self, future versions of me, ancient parts of me, guides, ancestors, Orisha, small parts, insecurities, versions of me that have been racked with shame and guilt, other parts that are nervous and anxious and insecure. All of these parts of myself are inside the cave. And it felt like a party this time, where there was a fire and everyone was able to just be. And I could sit and witness with some excitement, being able to see each of these parts and have a deep feeling of like love and compassion and warmth, and curiosity toward each of them, because I felt like, oh, you're good. I can see you're good. You feel good. The connection felt good. And I thought to myself, man, I like me. Like, I fucks with me a lot. Like, I really do. And I am allowing myself to celebrate myself and to really enjoy who I am. I'm going to tell you why that's important. I was not raised that way at all. I was raised to be, well, let me back up. Here's what I wrote. I'm just going to read what I wrote instead of trying to explain what I wrote again. and then we can come back to it. But I wrote, I really like myself because I learned how to forgive myself and have mercy on myself and accept myself and honor myself and allow me to listen to me and to make peace with what is by loving me. Self in my body feels like a stillness. Self is a stillness and a cool slip in the spaces between my bones. Self is relaxed belly and softened pelvic floor, relaxed root, steady breath, noticing. Self is awareness. I was often unsure about liking myself as a child. Is it acceptable or appropriate to think so highly of myself that I consider myself enough? I was raised to be humble, good, quiet, sweet, smart, kind, friendly but not naive, approachable but not fast or fresh, shamed for any failure or misstep, measured by an external response that was levied by some authority or some power separate from me. No board of grievances to be found. You bet not tell nobody but God. And me as a child. But don't he already know? Don't he see all? I got baptized because I thought it would bring my parents together. And when my daddy moved away, I used to go to altar call for prayer every week. I wanted God to see me. I wanted God to see me and relieve me of my suffering. I wanted God to make me normal. Make my daddy come home and my mama not be so mad and sad all the time. Make me not lazy and too slow to go with her. Make the kids stop teasing me for how I look, for being a black girl with big lips, for anything, really. I begged God to save me enough from my mom and dad. Because if I had to go to church, let it not be in vain, right? So, I like me. And I give myself permission to like me. I think it's very cool that I like me and that I speak so highly of myself. The things that I love about me, my quirks, my particularities, the way that my mind processes information, my curiosity, how much I appreciate silence. Yeah, I like me. I like the color of my skin. I like the texture and the feeling of my flesh. I like that one side tooth that is smaller than the others. It's not quite a gap, but there's an extra space there. I like how my right nostril sits a little bit lower than my left. I like the smell of myself in my funk, in my sweetness. I love the sound of my own voice and the sensation of its timbre in the back of my throat. I love my laugh. I've fallen in love with the gray hairs in my head, the extra weight of these 42 years, the softness of my skin, the quickness of my mind, and how sometimes my brain moves faster than the words can find their way out of my mouth. I love that about me. And to be able to sit and think off the top of the head things that I like about myself and speak them into a microphone in this office, knowing that I am soon going to press play and send this recording out into the world, is liberating for a lot of different reasons. Because in this liking of myself, there was a part of me that was still holding on to this narrative that I'm not ready to press record. Even though I like me, will they like me? Will the validation come from some external source of myself? And so when I wrote this reflection today and this revelation in the cave about liking myself, and I remembered this part of me that was 7 years old sitting down front at altar call at my grandmother and grandfather's church, waiting to receive prayer so that my dad would come home from North Carolina and he and my mom would get back together and things could go back to normal. I didn't think that God heard me. I, in a lot of ways, did not until today really acknowledge all of the ways in which I am an answered prayer, that my life is an answered prayer, that my daddy did come back and my parents did get back together and they're still together. And some days when I get so frustrated and I'm like, why are y'all still together? I forget that I begged God for my parents' relationship. And I mean, if this isn't evidence of that, there's so many times in my life where I have been seen. I mean, for my whole life, I have been seen and covered and kept and protected in divine favor. The fact that I am alive to tell this story is really a testament to the power and grace and mercy of the divine and its role in my life. And the parts of me that have been impatient have been so impatient. Ooh, we can be so impatient. We want to have the answers right now, today, 10 minutes ago, last year, a generation before us. Why am I going through it? I'm here. I am. I understand who I am. I am holding the complexity of being the caterpillar, the cocoon, the goo, and the butterfly all at the same time, now and across timelines. I am a living, breathing organism of flesh and bone and body and mind and spirit and heart. One of billions, infinitely, inextricably linked to the collective consciousness of all that is. The voice is my singular instrument. This voice is my instrument that I was given, that has been with me since I was 9 months old. And my mama said I started talking in full sentences And I mean, other adults corroborate this story, so I'm going to just go with it. But you know how folk like to, exaggerate when they talk about things. I ain't never met a 9-month-old talking baby, but they say I was one of them. And so when I doubt myself, when I am unsure that I am enough, when I feel not enough, those two are parts that are serving a purpose in my life. I'm sure there have been times where I have doubted myself, and that doubt that caused me to go back and check again, that spun the block on a situation, and not in a violent way, but I mean like the doubt of like, let me go back and check again to make sure that this is right. That I'm sure that doubt at some point has saved my life. I am certain that the tension between being not enough and too much at some point has saved my life for me to be able to use and access my discernment. My discernment to say, what is the right measure of pressure or heat or snark or sugar or sweetness? How much honey do I pour on this situation in order for me to make it out of this place okay? I am certain I can think of times where my life was saved because of these parts of myself that I wrestle with and am so frustrated by. I'm not enough. I'm doubting myself. I got to get over that. Oh, it's imposter syndrome. No, it's not. It's just it's you being a human. It was me being human. It was these parts showing up as wise and divine protectors that are seeking to keep the whole system well. When I am outside of myself, when I am run by parts, when I am led by composite identities that are avatars of of fractions or fractal images of my full self, they are making decisions on behalf of the whole from sometimes activated or traumatized places that can lead me to conclusions that are limiting, sometimes untrue, and perhaps not really in service to my highest self and my soul's purpose. And that's okay. Shout out to them, because perhaps it ain't time. Maybe it's to send off a flare to say, hey, pay some attention to me. Maybe self-doubt needed me to love on it, to say, I know everything that I know, and I also know that I can never comprehend how much I don't know. I understand that I can only heal to the extent that I have healed. I understand that in order for me to be the person who is administering healing guidance and medicine as a spiritual practitioner and a coach, that I have to taste the medicine to make sure it's not poison. And so the experimentation and exploration of my own interiority and doing so in public is essential to me sharpening my scalpel, I guess, if we're going to go with that metaphor. So I needed to speak to my self-doubt from a place of understanding and to remind both the self-doubt and me and all of my other parts that I prayed a prayer when I was 7 years old, repeatedly, fervently, that God is still answering today. That's extraordinary. Because I understand that to be true and can see all of the different ways throughout my life where that has continued to be true, that lets me further know that I am enough, that I have already been validated. The external validation that I was seeking from God, I received. So in this work of refusing God's grace in order to stay in the belief that I am not enough, I am creating an element of my own suffering. And so instead of throwing not enough out the window and kicking it to the curb and, demanding some authority over that, or as the children say, killing my ego, what I'm actually going to do is show some gratitude and love to that part and listen when it comes up and says, maybe not yet. And I'm going to ask it, what is it protecting me from? What does it see that maybe I don't see? I'm going to get curious about it. I'm going to ask it, what is it afraid? What's afraid? What are you scared is going to happen? What might happen if we do it anyway? If we do it scared, then what? What if you're right and I'm not enough? I guess we'll find out, right? So this is the exploration of Ask Me How I Know. This podcast is an exploration of self-discovery. You're walking with me on a journey as I rewrite the narrative about whose and who I am. You are present to witness my divine initiation and reconnection with spirit through ancestral African traditions. It's my hope that by sharing my own revelations and lessons learned, I can be of service to you along your own growth and healing journey. So whether you find yourself identifying as a caterpillar, cocoon, the goo, or a butterfly, this podcast is for you. It's my offering. I embrace the varying stages of emergence, whether from the flames or toward the sky. As a Black woman who refuses to be confined by societal norms, I want to walk with you as we dismantle and shatter systems of oppression. I invite you to chart your own journey. Continue to tune in to Ask Me How I Know and embark on a journey of personal transformation. I want to share the magic that lives inside the mundane. I want to support and guide you as you learn to ritualize your routines and unclench your butt cheeks. I lovingly invite you to be at peace with the you of right now, right now. Thank you for listening. Until next time, be light and shine.